Hi, I'm Mike Glenn, and I am president of the Engaged Church Network, and we're glad that you are joining us on today's podcast. Joining me today is Tim Harlow. Tim pastored in Chicago for 33 years and has now, like a lot of smart people, have moved to Nashville and because of grandkids. Yep. And so, but Tim and I have been friends for a long time through some other mutual acquaintances, and you have shown up in your Ron Swanson
for president
shirt.
Yeah. If you don't understand that reference, you should probably just turn it off right now.
That's right. So that's as good as it's going to get with us, right? You and I share something kind of major in common, in that we have stepped away from
that we married well.
We married extremely well, and we stepped down from leadership positions of over 30 years. Mm-hmm. And so, what's that been like?
It's been, as you well know, a lot harder than I thought it would be. I mean, walking away from a ministry where you had a lot of influence and a lot of great things happen, and you saw God work a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of friendships. I mean, so for me, moving was really different because we left all our friendships, and we had to start over at a different church, and I work in the nursery at the church that I go to, and which was by my choice,
right.
but I mean, it's like nobody knows who I am, and that's really wonderful, but it's also, man, it's kind of a gut check. Like, okay, maybe I was into that a little bit more than I should have been, which would be a warning for all of us to step back every once in a while and see why we do the things that we do. But, to transition, I mean, I've got 8 grandkids here, Mike. I mean, they just keep coming. It doesn't get better. I wouldn't trade this for anything, but it has been a hard transition.
Right. Yeah. The thing that shocked me was how tired I was.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I stepped away and then I just slept.
Yeah. Well, I think I've told you this before, but our mutual friend Bob Merritt up at Eaglebrook, I called him after he walked away, and he was like, he didn't even buzz me back, for about 8 months. And he said, it's taken me 8 months to want to talk to anybody or write a sermon or, or do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm at 8 months right now, and I'm still, like, I'm sleeping really late in the morning and doing stuff that I don't know. I don't know if I'm just tired or what, but there's an emotional thing that goes on, especially in a job like ours where you're on call 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
Regrets?
Well, obviously there are. I'll go to you on this one a little bit. I love that when you were stepping away, you already knew a lot more about what you were going to do. Mm-hmm. And so for me, they gave me a nice runway of financial support and whatnot, but I've had trouble discerning. I've gotten a lot of offers from a lot of different ideas and a lot of different things. I kind of wish if I was doing it again, if I was talking to younger me, I would say, why don't you figure out what that thing is and get going on it before you walk away. Mm-hmm. Then again, a lot of my friends, God just brings them the right thing at the right time, and I guess God does that a lot. I don't know if you know that, but
that's never been my that's never been my story.
And it's happening. It really is happening. Yeah. But so you say, hey, come be on my podcast. I'm like, yeah, all day. Yeah. You say, when are you going to start your podcast? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if that's what I need to do. Maybe it is. I don't know. So I wish I had some of that worked out ahead of time.
Okay. What would you tell a younger pastor about what ultimately matters and what doesn't? I mean, we stay in a tizzy all the time because everything that we're given we're told is of utmost importance. Mm-hmm. And so we announce the Bible study for left-handed truck drivers with the same intensity that we do the invitation to come follow Christ. The big one for me is I think I used up a lot of energy becoming a carnival barker.
Yep.
For church events.
Yeah.
that ultimately made no difference.
Well, it might have made a little bit of difference.
Well, it might have.
And that's the whole problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was just enough difference.
It's just enough difference
Right.
that your people are like, you need to do this.
Right.
This needs to be platformed. This is what needs to happen. I would agree with you on that. I got over that along the way. I think when we went multi-campus, probably you too. I mean,
Right.
you kind of got to go, with your campus pastors on all that kind of stuff and whatnot. But if I'm coaching younger leaders, I'm going to say get over yourself really fast, because I had a hard time letting go of the preaching because I think I'm really good. I don't know. I think I'm one of the best preachers I know.
Yeah, that's right.
So
here's what I would have done with that passage. Yeah.
So the whole thing of the team teaching took me. Part of it was a responsibility, I think,
Right.
But I think part of it was just arrogance, or just listening to my mom saying nobody's as good as you, or whatever it is, and that has to do with decision making. I had a great executive team, and literally my executive pastor was with me for, he's still there, 21 years. And I went to him one day. He was our small groups pastor, and I went to him one day and I said, I need you to be my executive pastor before I kill somebody. And that was the beginning of an executive team that helped me run things. And for me, I feel like I've always got the right ideas too.
Right.
But being able to listen, that's what I'm going to say over and over again. Just get over yourself. Listen to what the other people are saying. My executive pastor was a 6 on the Enneagram, and I'm an 8. So
that's me.
So I'm like, let's go. And he's
right.
like, well, have you thought about this and this and this and this? And it was a perfect marriage.
People always tell me, hey, Rome wasn't built in a day. I tell them I wasn't on that job. If I'd been on that job,
that's right.
There'd have been some
That's
changes.
right.
But the hard thing for me was one of my best friends is the troubleshooter for one of the largest industries in our city.
Yeah,
healthcare. We always know where this corporation's in trouble because my buddy would get a promotion. They'd put him in to turn it around.
Yeah.
Well, he sits down with me and he says, Mike, he said, we love you. And when you teach the Bible, there's few people better. We love listening to you. When it comes to all this other stuff, this administration, you suck.
Yeah.
And he says, it's not hurting you now, but it will accumulate to where people will quit listening to your preaching.
Yeah.
So you need to stay in your lane and let God bring people around you.
And this is so funny that we're having this conversation right now, because even in the preaching part,
right,
which is your absolute gift, I remember, what was the Tuesday evening program you guys had?
Kairos, yeah.
Kairos. I didn't know you back then. When my oldest daughter came down here to go to Belmont, she was involved at Kairos. So I would come, because a lot of times I couldn't be there on the weekend, and I'd come and we'd go to Kairos. And I remember you teaching and remember thinking, that was really good. But how do you have time to do a Kairos and then get ready for Sunday, and all
that's what I did.
Yeah. And I like almost called you up and like, dude, you need to get over it. And I didn't even know you. Now I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But I think, so like even in the teaching thing, so my dad was a pastor and, he had to teach on Wednesday night, and had to teach on Sunday morning, and had to teach on Sunday night. Everything would have been a lot better if he could have just taught on Sunday morning. Yeah. And maybe only like 40 times a year. Yeah. So,
well, it's an hour a minute of preparation
absolutely.
time.
Yeah. I agree.
Church members would tell me, we just don't have the great preachers. I said, you don't want them.
Yeah.
You won't let them be great.
No. Because you need them to do do other things. And that's, that's changing, I think, with the culture the way it is a little bit. But that's I would say get over yourself, allow other people to help you. I had a burnout period. Ironically, and it's not even ironic, but most people would tell you it was at the height of, we'd finally relocated. Right. It took us 13 years to transition the church into a church that had its head out of its backside and was ready to take care of the lost people. And we relocated, we blew up, and I was working on my dissertation, and all of a sudden I had one of those, Saturday evening service things. I can't go out and preach moments.
Yeah. Come apart, as they say.
I had to come apart, and I was able to get through it. And God, it's a great story of what God had already lined up for me to get ready to heal. But when I was heading into that, I can just tell you that the whole thing was about, okay, I finally got what I want. I finally am going to the right place, and my hair was on fire. And I am a guy that loves having his hair on fire.
Yeah.
And
the
that's
interesting
what killed
thing
me.
is those moments, you think they're going to come after a moment of failure and defeat. They
Exactly.
don't.
No.
They come after moments of great success.
Yeah. It's Elijah, right?
Yeah, when you've pulled it off and it can't
You ran
get any
faster
better.
than a chariot.
That's right.
And now you're in a cave
That's right.
and you're depressed and you want to kill yourself.
Yeah, and how many of us would say, if I ever just saw one miracle, I'd never down again?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If I could get a candle to light,
Yeah.
much less fire from heaven like that, if I could just get a little, I would never doubt again. But it's obviously not enough.
No.
You think it would be. Now, you said something interesting. You're kind of flying by, and I don't want to go back to it because this is always a hot topic. You talk about how many friends you were leaving in Chicago.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of us in the ministry who would say, I can't find friends. I don't know if I can have friends in the church. Is that even allowed?
Yeah.
So what would be your thoughts, your suggestion to pastors about friendships?
I've got 20 years now of partnership with 3 other pastors. Mm-hmm. We call ourselves the Stinklings because C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien were the Inklings, and we're not that good. We're the Stinklings. So they were all I say were because one of them has transitioned to a different ministry, but we were all in churches about the same size in the Midwest, in places.
But not necessarily in the same city.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, we had Baltimore, Cleveland area, Springfield, Illinois, and Chicago.
Okay.
So no, and we covenanted together way back 20 years ago to finish out ministry together, and we still are. I'll be with them in a few weeks. I would say that the main thing I would be really, I want to really encourage you is to find friends that are in ministry and not in your ministry, and find friends that you can be with, and you can go to conferences and you can do all that kind of stuff, and you could sit around. Oh my goodness! If the walls could speak about how much
and go back to law school. That was always our joke.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back to law school.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it just somebody you can complain to, all those things. Have fun with. I also was able to make friends with my elders, and I'm saying that kind of haltingly because it's not always easy to do. Some of them I was closer to than others. Some of them, those relationships fell apart along the way. But most of my eldership, my leadership, I had trained up before they became. Right. So we were already friends before they were in the leadership position. But I also had some of my closest friends that I would not let be in leadership, that were in my church.
Because you need the kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
That's what I always found to be. You need 3 or 4 people that are in your kitchen cabinet who will tell you the truth. Yeah.
And that you can complain about the elders.
Right.
I mean, or whatever. But yeah, I mean, so I don't think there's a rule of thumb, Mike. You've got to. What I hate is when I hear guys have been taught you can't have friends in your congregation. I mean that's up to you.
Right.
I mean, that's your deal.
Well, my thing is there are a lot of business meetings the church has that you're not invited to. And they happen in the parking lot, they happen in the hallway.
Yeah.
You better have a friend in those meetings.
Absolutely.
You better have somebody who knows you. Giving input, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and has your back. Yeah, all day. Yeah, I mean that's been. I mean, honestly, the fact that I already knew you and several of the other pastors in the area, through Ramsey, through some of that stuff. When I moved here, that made things a lot easier because I already had those things. And so I would say that, if you don't have anybody now, lean into the ones that are outside.
Right.
This is the 21st century. Your good friends don't have to live next door. You can figure that out.
That's right. Interested in a comment that I just saw. Actually, it was the last thing of your bio now.
Oh.
About how excited you are about what God's doing right now. And I'm like you. I know there's all the naysayers and people aren't going to church. They aren't going to church like they used to, but they're finding Christ in a lot of different ways and a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And I think now is absolutely the best time to be doing this.
I do too, and that's.
And I'm a little frustrated that I'm almost 68 years old because
that sounds weird coming from a couple old guys that have walked away from their church.
Man,
but don't hear this as we're old guys that have walked away from our church. I mean, in both of our cases, we're excited about what the church that we gave our life to is going through now with their new leadership.
Well, see, I stepped away because, one, it was the right time for me.
Yeah.
And it was the right time for the church.
Yeah.
See, and you know this, we pastored 4 or 5 churches at the same address.
Yeah.
And instead of going to another church, we stayed and did the transition with them. We were getting ready to go through a 6th or 7th transition.
Yeah.
And we were on the front step, and I said, that's not fair.
Yeah.
For me to do that. And it was a good time to make the transition.
It's not only not fair. I mean, I really feel like coming out of COVID, we all did what we needed to do, right. and we all, but there's a lot of us that are like, okay, that is a new thing that's going on now, and I just believe that the guy that replaced me is 43. And I remember the energy that I had at 43.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know everything that I know now, but I had the energy and the appeal to the congregation that I think it's different. But at the same time, what we're doing here and what you and I are involved in is we're not like just going out and playing golf. Matter of fact, we haven't played at all.
No.
And we're not just hanging out and drinking coffee and talking about the good old days. We're trying to invest ourselves in the next generation and what is going to happen going forward. Political situation aside, I mean, I really think what we're seeing is a lot of people that are tired of everything else and looking for hope, and they're finding it where they're supposed to find it.
They are asking questions that Jesus answers.
There
Identity, purpose,
exactly right.
Meaning, all of those are Jesus questions.
Yes, you're right.
And he answers them better than anybody.
Absolutely.
So,
and they know, and I think they're open to that.
Right.
We've just got to try to get the local church at the point where it could be the disseminator of the Jesus that they're looking for.
The Jesus gospel, yeah.
And that's not always easy for them to find.
So as we wrap things up, what do you want our pastors to hear?
Great question. Someday, you're going to be old and retired, and the most important thing was, as you look back, was your wife and your family. Mm-hmm. I know that
the most important sermon you preach.
The fact that we live close to our 3 daughters and our son-in-laws and 8 grandkids is kind of a testament, because a lot of people are like, I wouldn't want to do that, and the family wouldn't want to be together. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing I'm responsible to and for is my 40-year marriage and my family and what happens with them going forward. If I did anything, we had Saturday night services because we were in Chicago. We started in the year 2000. So my kids were young. We were doing Saturday night, Sunday morning, all that kind of stuff. But my wife especially helped me make that work, and we tried to keep the family at the top of the pyramid. I'm ambitious. I probably traveled too much. I probably did too much. But now that I'm looking back, what am I proud? I'm proud of the church and what we built. But I'm living in the family that was given to me.
Someone asked me, "What are you proud of stuff?" And I said, honestly, the thing I'm proudest of is that both my boys found their faith
Absolutely.
and are now living it out in their own families.
Absolutely.
So
It's absolutely true.
That's
I mean, I could go on and on about that, but I think if there's a it's Andy Stanley's choosing to cheat thing. There's not enough time to do everything that you're going to do. So make sure you get to read to your kids before they go to bed, and and go on vacation.
Have a late breakfast with your wife and head into the office
Yeah.
late. Don't worry about that.
You don't have to take every breakfast meeting. You don't have to take any breakfast. Towards the end, I stopped taking breakfast meetings because it just didn't work for me. You know,
that's hard to see a church member that early in the morning before I've had a good cup of coffee or whatever.
Yeah,
So
exactly right. I don't care how much bacon you bring me. There's just not enough.
It's just not enough. All right. This is Tim Harlow, and I am Mike Glenn. Thank you for being with us on this podcast. This is the Engaged Church Network, and we're delighted you joined us. So look forward to seeing you next time.